I finally finished up my dream trench coat. Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Kyla, and if you're one of my returning subscribers, thanks so much for stopping by. And I finally finished up my trench coat that I started back in March, I want to say, as part of my batch cutting plans, this video here. And I'm using Vogue V9367. I've made this coat before, but I've made the short version out of patent leather. So this is the first time that I've made the long version. And for reference, I'm using a fabric called cotton gabardine, which is a typical trench coat style fabric that you'll find from a lot of the luxury designers. Christian Dior, let's see who else, Burberry, a lot of them use cotton gabardine as well. So I've got everything cut out, got all the fabric pre-washed, set to go, and I'm going to take you through my journey as far as any changes that I made. And I'll meet you back here and we'll go over everything that I did. Let's get started. All right, so I've got my markings in place, and the first step is to stitch the back dart on both sides and then press it towards the center. So here's my dart here and my markings around all the sides. Some of these are for the armholes and then for the placement of the pockets as well. And then here it is actually finished, so you can see what the dart will look like. I'll finish up this side and then stitch down both back pieces and stopping right at the top of the back vent. Darts are done. Both pieces in the back are stitched together all the way to where the extension starts. I made my clipping here. Press the one side of the extension. And now I'm going to base stitch all the way to the end here, keeping these two pieces separate from the back of the coat. And then I made my stitch line here on the back side of the fabric, because what I'll do is just put straight pins in place, and I'll just follow that as my guide on the other side. I didn't want to put ink on the outer edge. Pockets are pinned in place, and you'll notice that I put the pockets that are the same fabric as the coat on the back piece, but on the two fronts are the lining, because when you insert your hands in the pockets and the fabric comes up a little bit, the pocket opens, you'll see some of the fabric, and you want it to match what the actual garment is. I'll stitch a 1/4 inch down both of the pockets, front and back, and flip that over and give it a good press. I've got my pocket stitched in place, and I've got everything pinned up front and back. So now I'm just going to stitch down to my marking here, outline the pocket, come back up at my other marking, and then finish all the way down to the hemline of the coat. And I'll repeat that for the opposite side. All right, so this is a piece for the carrier loops, which go on both sides of the coat for the belt. I've got piece number 5, which is the under collar, piece number 6, the upper collar. 6 is cut on the fold, 5 is just cut 2 pieces, and also on the grain line, so on the bias to give it a slight stretch. And I transferred my markings from the pattern to the interfacing. That way, once I attach it to the fabric, I'm not covering up the markings on the actual fabric so that I have to transfer them again. Piece number 10 was a little bit tricky because I was running out of fabric. So I had to cut 2 pieces and I'll just stitch them together just to give it an effect of like it being cut on the fold. It won't matter because that seam is in the back and nobody will really pay attention to it. And then this extra piece here is just a loop that I made to go under, or I should say above the upper collar. That way, when I hang the coat up, there's something that kind of holds it in place. That wasn't in the pattern. That was just an extra little detail that I added. I've turned my carrier piece right side out, and I'm going to give that a press. And then I'll edge stitch down both sides of the carrier. And then I've also turned the loop that I'm going to use at the neckline, at the base of the neck, to hang the coat up. And you'll notice that I'm using my little portable iron because my other one finally conked out. I knew it was coming. So now I've really got to get a new one because this is okay for travel, but not for big items, especially for a fabric that's kind of dense like this, being that it's a gabardine. I have my 2 under collar sections stitched together, and then this is the folded upper collar. And you'll notice that on both corners, I left some of the interfacing off, just so that it makes for a nice crisp point when I turn it right side out. Now I can go about stitching these 2 together and attaching them to the coat. For the belt, I'm going to fold this in half on the fold line. And then at one end of the belt, I'm going to stitch and turn the corner, almost making a letter L shape. And that will keep my one folded end that will be used for the belt loop. I also made a notch in the interfacing so that when I fold this in half and I turn it inside out, or right side out, I should say, I won't have interfacing in the corner, which will give me that nice crisp point, just like I did on the collar. You can probably get away with cutting the belt not quite as wide because the pattern calls for a 2-inch buckle, and this is 2-inch. And folding it in half on the fold line and then stitching, if I had stitched the 5/8 of an inch, I would have needed a wider for a taller buckle. So, I'm not sure. Maybe 2 inches is not for the inside, but maybe that counted the outside. Maybe that was it. Maybe I did need to go up. But I just adjusted where I stitched so that I can slide the fabric through the belt easily. So that was an easy workaround. So now I'll go about trimming off this excess and then turning it inside out. I'm ready to do some top stitching and some understitching. I've got my carriers here. I've got the belt that I'm going to top stitch. And then for the collar, I've turned it inside out. I'm going to give it a press. And on the side that is the under collar with the seam, I'll understitch as far as I can possibly go to the corners. And then I can go about attaching it. I've got my sleeves ready to go. These are for the lining, and this is the outer fabric. And I've got gathering stitches at the top so that I can ease the sleeves into the armholes. This one is gathered slightly, just a little bit. And then one of the lining arms, I left an opening between the thread, my stitch, I should say, rather. And that will allow me to work on the finishing off the hems of the sleeves inside out. Here's a one sleeve pinned in place. I've started flattening out some of the gathering stitches. And then I'll stitch this around twice and repeat this on the opposite side. These are my 2 markings for the placement of the carriers. And I've got each one set and ready to go. I just need to press under each end about 1/4 of an inch, place them over my markings, and stitch through all the thicknesses. I thought it would be easier to show you on the mannequin that I've got the lining pinned in place all the way around where the facing is, and here in the back around the nape of the neck, and then continuing around the collar, and then all the way down. So now I'm ready to stitch that in place and turn that inside out, and then I can move along to the sleeves. To make my special edition for my trench coat, I'm going to use one side of this peplum bottom from this pattern, McCall's M7508, and I'm hoping that it fits the way I want it to. I think it will. If not, I can trim down the sides. But this is going to give me that half capelet look that I'm going for. So here are my two pieces cut out, the trench coat and the lining. I'm going to stitch all the way around and leave an opening at the top part where it's hidden underneath the collar, because that's where and once I turn it in right side out, I'll press it flat and then I'll make a tiny stitch up there. So I'm just going to leave an opening just big enough to slide my hand in to turn it right side out. Okay, so here's my half capelet coming along, and now I'm debating, do I want to top stitch or not? The pattern doesn't top stitch the collar or the facing on the coat. They only top stitch the hem on the sleeves and the hem at the bottom. But I don't know, I kind of like how top stitching looks. But this looks nice too. I guess top stitching is something that I could push towards the end. Maybe I'll do that. Yeah, I'll do that, and then I'll just focus on finishing up the sleeves and hemming the bottom. And then circle back to this and see if I've changed my mind. Okay, I pinned 2 of the buttons on it just so you can see where I'll put the buttonhole placement on the capelet. And I'm really liking it not top stitched. I do. I think I'm going to leave it like that. It just looks cleaner and neater. And oh, it's really coming along. Oh, that belt looks so good. Oh, I can't wait until this is finished. Now I want it to be fall so I can wear it. It's too hot now. I have the outer sleeve pinned in place, and I just did a gentle fold of the lining. And I'm not going to stitch right on the fold because I kind of want a soft crease to keep some ease within the movement of the sleeve when I bend my arm. I'm going to stitch about 3/4 of an inch above that fold, connected to the outer lining to create that effect. I have the lining pinned to the outer fabric, and now I'm going to stitch this all the way around. I've stitched all the way around and got the lining attached to the outer, and I have this nice fold here, which will give me some ease when layering the coat over sweaters and sweatshirts and whatever other heavier fabrics I'll be wearing in the fall. I've got the right side of the back vent flap stitched together, the lining and the outer. I'm going to understitch that lining as far as I can, and then do the same on the left side, which would be the top portion of the vent, and then close that up right at the beginning of where the opening starts. I had to remove the stitch that I did previously because since I decided to fully line this, I needed that to be open and to go in and do that after. So once I get both side flaps closed and understitched, then I'll do my angle stitch, securing it flat and in place. And then I can move on to the hem. And then the buttonholes, which is probably going to be the most work, but I'm almost there. I've turned the lower edges of the facing right sides together. This is one that's pinned in place, and I'm going to stitch 1/4 of an inch right up until the end of where the facing stops and the lining starts. Here's one side already done, and I've went ahead and trimmed the corner here so that when I turn this right side out, this creates my soft fold at the bottom for me to start the hemline on the coat. I'll press the outer and then go about attaching the lining. Okay, so I did a few samples and I think I'm gonna go with 33. I like how it has that round, kind of a light bulb shape on one end. And here's my samples that I did. I don't know what happened to 30 and don't know what happened to 31, but there's 33. And 35 just looks, it's so-so. So yeah, I think 33 will be the best look for this coat. All right, this is home stretch, last part. Let's get going. Ooh, that came out very nice. Okay, and that's the one on the opposite lapel, so that will be seen when the collar is actually not buttoned up to the top. So, ooh, that's perfect. Now I'm excited about the rest of them. I love how the coat turned out. This is exactly what I had imagined back in March. And using that half peplum from McCall's M7508 was just perfect. I didn't even have to change it much as far as making it fit from the measurement of the front flap of one side of the coat all the way to the back middle nape of my neck. The only thing that I really had to kind of play around with was the placement of the buttons, the buttonholes. But other than that, I love how it turned out, and I love convertible clothing. I can wear it with the caplet and I can wear it without. And I want to show you all something else that really helped me out with putting all those buttons on by hand. I couldn't use the machine because the bottom of the button itself didn't lay flat and it kept shifting and moving under the button foot. So I thought, okay, just go ahead and put these all on by hand. But it took me no time. Usually I try to do this when I'm watching TV. And the room that I am is dark. There's not a whole lot of good lighting for up close working any type of hand stitching, sewing, crocheting, knitting, anything. I need a bright light. And because all of my lamps are kind of a warm, low to the ground type, I needed something that was direct light that would just hit right on the garment without using my hands. So I stopped at the store called Harbor Freight. I don't know if you have those in your state, but they're here in Michigan, and got a headlamp, which is great. It's elastic and it clamps on top of the head or fits on it. And the lighting was perfect as far as zeroing right in on the area that I was working. This was great. This was a game changer. And it was really nice to keep my hands free. And I have something for when the power goes out, because where I live, I lose the power a lot. There's always some kind of storm going on or some trees coming down, and then I'm out of power. But this is an idea. If you've got some hand sewing that you need to do or any type of up close sewing and you have a dimly lit room, but you want to keep your hands free, look into getting a headlamp. This was $14.99. So this will come to be some good use for me. Ooh, it flashes. Okay. Didn't know it did that. So that is it for today's video. Thanks so much for stopping by and going on this journey with me that was a little bit longer because coats are a little bit more work, but they're definitely worth it in the end. I can't wait for it to be fall so I can start wearing my trench coat. I don't know where I'm going in it. I might just wear it to Trader Joe's. But I'm happy that it's done, and now I can move on to another project. I will see you all in the next video. Take care. Bye, everyone.